So pleased to welcome Bill Chenard, who is the town manager for the town of Pembroke today for Town Talk. Lots to talk about, Bill. Can we just verify about our town meeting, which is scheduled for Tuesday night, May 11th? Is that still on the docket?
So it is. The select board voted to move forward with it on May 11th. Right now it is scheduled for May 11th. It's important to note that there's been discussion with PEMA, Pembroke Emergency Management, and the Board of Health regarding, safety related to COVID. I think we just take a look at it as we get closer to May 11th. I think that's important. Right now, it certainly still is scheduled for May 11th, and we're planning for May 11th. And as we get closer to that date, if it appears unsafe, I'm sure that the board, the moderator, will take appropriate action. I mean, everybody's on the same page. We're using the information available to us regarding COVID, we'll make sure that it is safe for all residents to attend. So that it's important.
Excellent. And just before we get into some capital projects that we're looking at for town meeting and otherwise, COVID numbers in all of the surrounding towns are ticking up slightly. Do you want to make any commentary on that?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. We've had some very high days, not as high as we did in December, but March was our third highest month. We had days in the 20s, and we've had a run of days of 2, 3, 4, 5 also. Not sure what's going on with that. I am encouraged that as vaccinations continue to roll out, and super happy that the Commonwealth announced that we're certainly going to be ramping that up with the Hines opening up with the partnership with FEMA. We're going to get closer and closer to herd immunity, and I think that will help to move down those. And also the CDC, the recent CDC and some studies with the Pfizer, that it's nearly 100% effective on teenagers is awesome, because now we can get that group vaccinated as well.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. Let's get right into some of the big ticket items for the town. Let's talk about the Pembroke Community Center. Lots of new information from what was a year ago. So you want to kind of outline that for us?
Sure. So last month, the community center came to us. The architects came to us with the committee, presented to the board that it was very important that we take a look at moving forward quickly with the community center. The town of Sandwich actually was able to went out to bid and got bids significantly below their estimates. As a result of that, the architect came in and presented that we could go from an estimated 23 million down to just under 19 million. So we are looking at that aggressively. The board took action. The board actually voted to place the debt exclusion question on the town ballot. We have the appropriation on the warrant for a town meeting, and we are moving forward with that. And as we talk about the community center, I think it's important for residents to know. I know the people that are in and out of that building on a regular basis understand the condition of that building and certainly the need to do something. This is an incredible opportunity for us. The interest rates, I've been following bond rates, municipal bond rates, and the interest rates are very, very low right now. Last week, for a AA rated community, which is Pembroke, they were at 2%. And then this week, they're actually at 1.8%. So really, really key to moving forward. We have the opportunity to save money with the construction and save money with our borrowing. So absolutely important for us.
Can I just ask a question on, I know a lot of people have asked, I don't think there's any doubt that most people love the plans and the idea and what it's going to look like and how many people it can serve. The bottom line really is, what will that add to my taxes? Do we have any kind of numbers that you can give to people on that yet?
Yeah, actually, I've done myself and staff and our financial advisors have done a significant amount of research and looking at actual costs. And I think think that's the most important factor, is so that we as a community, at least the management of the community, provide our taxpayers with the information that's necessary for them to make a really, really good decision for what's best for them. And so I actually took some time and gridded out a complete 25-year bonding schedule. And and I'll take a significant amount of time this morning to talk about that. I know we have limited time, but I think that's one of the more important factors. So if we look at our lowest assessed homes, they're starting out in the mid 30s. Actually, 3725 would be the addition to their taxes. And in year 25, it would be $25.75. That averages over the 25-year period to an annual tax increase of $30.49. But that's the low end. We looked at our median average value and what their taxes would be, and they start out at just over $157, and in the early year, and then at the end they go down. If we use a level principal philosophy, which is what most communities are doing, we're looking at our options for bonding, but that is the lowest cost to the town because it presents the lowest interest. So that average household would start at 157, go down to 108 or almost 109 for an average of 128 or 128.98
Okay.
over the 20-year period. And then our highest assessed property would be starting out, and there aren't many of these. There's only 5 of these properties in the community. Single family, I'm talking about, would start out at 447, go down to 309 for an average of 365. I will note our commercial properties, though, they're in the thousands. And commercial partners are good. I mean, Pembroke has a single tax rate, which is pro business. We want the economic growth within our community, and so those commercial property owners, I'm sure, are happy to pay those taxes. Some of the bigger properties in town are close to $14,000 at the start, an annual increase in taxes. So they'll obviously, as an individual, have the largest increase. And that's important to note also.
Okay, so just to recap, the annual tax increase would be between $50-ish for a lower assessed home, about 109 for a medium assessed home, and up to 300 or so at the end for a high assessed home, and that's over the course of an entire year.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
that's the
That's
entire
not per month,
year,
that's per
and
year.
it starts at a higher number.
Yep.
And ramps down toward the end.
Okay. Now, is there a place
Correct. Yeah,
that folks...
that is divided by the 4.
Go ahead.
No, and that's divided by the 4 quarterly payments. So if you're looking at those numbers, you can assume that each tax bill will have a modest increase. And it's important to note that there are people that can't afford that, and as a community, we need to recognize that and do what we can to assist those individuals, because not everyone has the financial resources to move forward with something like this, and anything we can do to help mitigate those costs is critically important to our taxpayers.
Right, exactly. Okay, so that is one big item on the town warrant. What about other capital expenses that need to be done within the town? Can you kind of highlight some of the bigger ones?
Sure. I mean, we have a total of just over $3.5 million in capital expenses on our town meeting warrant. General fund expenses about 2.3 million, water expenses about 1.2, and then solid waste. We're running short on tipping bins, the bins that you roll out to the curbside for the trash to pick up. They get damaged, or we've had tremendous number of additions to the town where people have purchased additional bins. So again, that's 3.5 million overall. We're going to fund that with free cash. We're going to fund it with borrowing, and as we look at our borrowing, our curves are declining. So we're hoping that we can keep those debt curves even. And what that will do is it minimizes the impact to the taxpayer. And so we're taking a look at how we can do that. And when we look at our debt curves, in FY22, our debt curves are going down. General fund about 60, on the within levy, and then the excluded debt about 83, and then the water enterprise about $140,000. So that's key. In FY23, those numbers are even higher. So if we can just keep that balance, the impact to the ratepayer and the taxpayer are minimal. And that's what we try to do is add our capital projects to where we have to borrow money in those years where we're dropping off prior year capital projects. So some of the bigger ones, as we look at it, one of my biggest concerns is pavement management. In the town of Pembroke, we historically use Chapter 90 funds, which is state aid for paving projects. That's only about $550,000. And over time, what happens to your roadways, if we were to estimate what our cost should be, it's significantly higher than that. So just using Chapter 90 funds causes our roadways to deteriorate. One of the things we have on our capital plan this year is a supplement to that. It's a modest supplement this year, but because we're still working through our 5-year paving plan, that's also on our capital plan. So the supplement this year is $100,000 for paving. So it takes that 550 and makes it 650, which allows us to do a little more paving within the community. We are planning through our capital plan this year to update that pavement management plan so that we can reassess some of our roadways, and move forward with that. One of the other things that's on our capital plan this year is the Route 36 easements. Route 36, the project, the couple millions of dollars project to repave Route 36 from the center to Route 27 is paid for by the Commonwealth, but the easements to do that are a local requirement. So we're appropriating or requesting an appropriation of $170,000 to buy those permanent and temporary construction easements that will allow us to redo Route 36. You're familiar with some of the TIP programs that we've done recently. Those have worked out incredibly well. Route 14, 53, and as we move through this, we want to ensure that we participate as a positive partner with the Commonwealth in transportation improvement project funding. So we've appropriated that. Other pavement issues, we have some engineering services for some specialty stuff, some drainage, some bridges, and some requests that have been made. ADA to finish our right-of-way transition plan. And then a culvert underneath the Herring Run, which the Commonwealth and the town are partnering and looked at and have to replace, unfortunately. So for highway, paving, those types of things, that's where we're at. Also with Public Works, we have a new dump body on one of our existing trucks. The chassis is in good condition, has significant useful life remaining, so we can spend $20,000 and put a new dump body on that, where the old dump body is rotted, and really extend the useful life. Really positive. I'm pleased with the DPW folks on how they plan that out. And as we move forward, one of our biggest concerns is our buildings and maintaining our buildings. So we're putting $40,000 aside to do some upgrades to some of our buildings, the town hall and some of the surrounding buildings in the center. Town hall has some issues with some of the windows. We want to finish that project and do some upgrades there. Other things that are on the list, we talked about the bins for solid waste, moving to water, the tank maintenance. We have the 3 tanks and we need to make sure that those are maintained. That's $1 million cost. And our water, it's very, very important that we continue to pour money into our water resources, make sure that our water is safe to drink and that we have the capacity to provide water for our residents and for fire suppression. The hydrants and water fire suppression is very, very important. So, and then I'm also on the water enterprise. We have $200,000 to replace a water service truck. For police and fire, our police cruisers are getting older. Over half of our police fleet has over 100,000 miles currently. It takes a while once you order police cruisers to get them in. So it's important that we do that. We are proposing to purchase 2 new police cruisers. We're also proposing to replace our ballistic vests. Those are the vests that the police officers wear for protection. Um, we're proposing to upgrade our dispatcher radios and our digital repeater system. We have some dead spots in up in the Route 39, 139 area, and we want to make sure that those dead spots aren't dead. I mean, we want to be able to communicate safely. Um, Last summer, we had several calls about problems on our lakes with jet skis and boaters, and unfortunately, our police boat was determined by the maintenance. We have a private maintenance company do our boat maintenance, and they said it's just we just can't maintain it. It just isn't going to be peak capacity. So we're proposing to replace the boat. We're actually looking at a couple of different options for that. We'd like to go with something that has jet propulsion as opposed to a propeller, because our lakes are not as great for propellers in some areas, and so with a jet we can get into different areas and do it. And we looked at the town of Wareham; they actually use jet skis, so we're taking a look at that, which could save a significant amount of money as long as the officers are comfortable using those for patrolling our waterways when we do get reports of problems. So um, there was a discussion about taking the fireboat and using it for police patrols. And then we thought that through. And I said, if we get a fire call for a rescue when the police officers are using the boat on a different pond, that boat needs to come off of that pond and then go to the other pond. We're putting our residents at risk if we do that. So I wasn't comfortable doing that. And I said, I would rather patrol it from the shore with police, trying to write down numbers from boats and following up that way. It's a little more difficult to do that than to use a fireboat. So, but we're now proposing to replace that police boat so that we can do that for our residents. And then finally, on the police side, the animal control building has a air conditioning / HVAC and ventilation issue. The hot water tank is aged and starting to leak. So we're proposing a modest $7,500 for repairs to that facility so that we can move forward. On the fire side, same deal. We're proposing to replace one command vehicle. Our ambulance, we have 3 ambulances in town, and we do rotate those through. They get significant amount of service, and so we do rotate those through on a regular basis. The breathing apparatus, the Scott tanks that the firefighters use, are up for replacement. They can't be certified anymore, so we're starting a replacement plan for those. That will be a multi-year replacement. Same thing with our firefighting gear. And then the ladder truck. The ladder truck is at a point where it needs to be refurbed. We can extend the useful life of our ladder truck of probably about 10 years if we just spend, it's over $1 million. It's probably closer to $1.4 million today. To replace that truck, we can spend $100,000 or just over $100,000, refurb the ladder truck, and extend that useful life. I mean, money well spent. If you did a cost benefit on that, huge benefit to the taxpayers. Then there's some smaller stuff. The gas trailer for the sealer of weights and measures. That's the trailer they take out when they measure to make sure that when you put that gas in your car, you're getting a gallon of gas that you pay when you pay for a gallon of gas. So we need to do some repairs on that. It's got some issues. That's about a $6,000 cost. Library. I'm going to take a quick moment to talk about a library, because when I came to Pembroke, just about a year ago now, they told me the library's new. And I mean, I walked in the library. It's a beautiful building, and it does look new, but the library is 23 years old. And when you start to hit that age, you start to see things go. So we're starting that. I've looked at that. I did a complete walkthrough with the library director. And as we move forward in the capital plan over the 5 years, we're going to have to be looking at, HVAC system, roofs, et cetera. This year, we're proposing to replace the sidewalk out front. It has some heaves and some tripping hazards. That's a $35,000 cost. For the library, and the final technology upgrade to get everything up to Windows 10 so that all of their systems are equivalent. There's a $10,000 cost to do that. One final note I'll make is that we talked to the recreation department, and typically the recreation department does court and ball field refurbs with revolving. Unfortunately, because of COVID, the programs didn't occur, so we don't have the income. So I've agreed to put the Libby Short Memorial Courts, those are the courts behind Town Hall, on our capital plan. There's some cracks, some fissures, some things that need to happen there. It's a $7,500 cost where we can do that. Again, letting that go will only cost more to repair. Repairing it now is the way to go. And because we don't have the money in revolving, we're going to pay for it out of free cash. Same deal with the ball fields at Maroon. They didn't get the use that they had last year. There's some overgrowth there, some things we want to do, some recuts on the infield. That's a $4,000 cost. So, and then the final thing is the schools. The schools are working through their budgeting process right now. So I will defer to them where we have a placeholder in our budget for the school capital. But I want them to set their own priorities, the school committee and the superintendent. And so they'll be coming to the select board next week, and we'll get some updates at that point. So I know that's a lot to digest. I took a lot of time, but I really do appreciate that. I think it's important that our taxpayers understand where we're spending their money.
Right. And I appreciate that. And I think what's important to know is where can people go if they want to really kind of do a deep dive into these numbers and what you've chosen to spend the money on for capital and other budgets, and where can people go to get the backup for all these numbers that you've come up with?
So certainly. So we're going to be publishing this information to the website. We're doing a final presentation to both the select board on the 7th and the advisory committee on the 8th. And then that information will be out, and it will also be published within the warrant for town meeting. And if anybody has specific questions about any project, I know there are citizens out there that are concerned about roadway paving projects. It's important to note that roadway paving projects take time. And we are updating that study, and we'll be highlighting where we need to go with our paving money.
Thank you so much for joining me today. There's so much information here for people to know about. And we have about 5 weeks before town meeting, 6 weeks. So people have a lot of time to really look into all these items that are going to be voted on in town meeting and that are going to be part of the budget. We also have elections coming up, so there's a lot going on in Pembroke in the next 2 months. So we really appreciate you being here with us, and we will refer everybody to the town website to get more information. And you do have timely postings also on social media. So we thank you so much, Bill Chenard, for joining us today.